But you do need to record this, though. So I'll commentate. FEI Nations Cup eventing, cross-country phase, first rider on her way around the Arras de Pin complex here in Normandy. And it's Caroline Gerber for Switzerland. What's going on here over the weekend? Not only this particular competition, but the CIC 2 stars. Now coming to 5, which is a little bit of a combination. And she's gone on the right-hand side, which is the quicker route there. Coming back downhill, this famous Parkland here in Normandy, the venue for the World Equestrian Games back in 2014. Now 9 is a little pop downhill, probably around about 4 strides. There's the first coming round, that's just missing out the 2-star. Here is 9A coming towards it, and then they will just pop downhill. And then going to the next, just can't see, there is a little obstacle, and then they go away out to fence 10. So the order of go here, the first 7 combinations. First of the Swedish riders will be going next. That will be Malin Josefsson. Then it is Esteban Benitez Val. And they scored 37.4 in the dressage. They're jumping 4. And heading up towards is you can hear the cheers. Maxime Livio. And there's confirmation to Caroline. The leader. That's the rider's restaurant just behind that. Let's see how he goes through there. He's fine. No dramas out on the course so far with the first 3. All going along nicely enough. Malin Josefsson heading through the second water complex and then to 15. But Caroline Gerber has finished. And we'll bring you details of how she's got on. Now coming down through 6 is Maxime Livio. I'm sure he's not going to be hanging around here with Picador, his talented horse. And they won a Nations Cup individual at Vorigem last year. Let's see how he's coming through 7. Pops the first part. Coming down to the second. Nicely through that. Popping that. Now they ease just gently through that. No problems at all for Maxime Livio. As we now watch Tim Lips. Once again we pick up Maxime Livio heading through and away. Through 8. The Frenchman going now to 9, all looking fairly easy at the moment for him. And coming through towards 9. Lining up now. Through the first part. Little popping that one up was all very easy. And heading away to the course on the furthest point. I can tell you that there's been a little problem for Malin Josefsson. But Caroline Gerber has finished as we continue to watch Tim Lips here on Lacoste. Scored 35.0 in the dressage. The Netherlands lying in 5th spot. But Caroline Gerber confirmed her time. She was through in 12.4 time penalties in 7:11, and so adding to her score, she is now on 53.7. So that's where she stands at the moment with those time faults. As we continue to watch Tim Lips on his way. Taking his time coming to that. And continues on his way. Not going by any means as quick, it would seem, as Maxime Livio, who is, as we've seen, we know he's gone through 9 and 10. Now, Marlene Josephson can confirm she's finished, and Esteban Benitez Val is coming to the end of his round. And Marlene Josephson picked up 27.6 cross-country faults, 1 refusal at 18. Here is Tim Lips at 8. Big spread coming out of the water complex, and he's going along fine. And Marlene Josephson confirm finishing on a score of 59.1 after the cross-country, with those time penalty faults as well, 7.6. So slightly quicker than, despite having that problem, than Caroline Gerber. Here's Tim Lips coming to fence 9. And he's through that as well. Still to go, we got Andres Ostold. And this is Andres Ostold, the first of the German riders on his way. And so is Est. What a good horse this is. 9th at Weg, 2nd at Stragram, 2nd at Badminton with this horse. So has been a real superstar, and 26.9. Coming to 7. And is not ungainly, but he's still through it. And then just one more Nations Cup rider to go through, and that is David Doel. And there is David Doel on ACFE the Grey, the British rider, just 25 years of age, has been 2nd at Chatsworth and Renswoude in the Netherlands this season. Scored 33.9 in the dressage. Britain currently lying in 4th spot in the standings here. David Doel then heading towards 5. Esteban Benitez Val, well, he's picked up 4 time penalty faults to finish with a time of 6:51, and is now on a score of 41.8. So the quickest so far, as we continue to watch David Doel coming round. And coming down. Can tell you, Maxime Livio, excellent from him, inside the time from Maxime Livio. Looked as if he was going quick, and confirmation that Maxime Livio will stay in first place going into the final jumping phase with a clear round. 6 seconds inside the time. Maxime Livio with a time of 6:34. Remains on his score of 26.4. Excellent round across country from Maxime Livio and his horse Picador. Now on his way, still David Doel here, and his horse ACFE, this grey, the 11-year-old grey, coming to 9. The last of this group of Nations Cup riders. Popping 9, so clear But again, maybe the time is going to be the big question, as inevitably it can be in these kind of competitions. And there is, next to the riders on their way, we've got Nicolas Touzin, Cédric Liard, and these are French riders who are not part of the Nations Cup. .12:07. And Ostolt then finishing in second, but the gap has widened, not making it side the time, but will this stage with the scoring system, it is 3 scores count towards the Nations Cup of the 4, but at the moment it's Andreas Ostolt in second, as we continue to watch some of the other combinations go through. A large group of French riders over the next period of time, going through 6. Claire Loiseau going through on won't wait, number 738. Can confirm David Dole's picked up just 1.2 time penalty faults on his round, having finished just a few moments ago in a time of 6:43. So David Dole and Britain off to a solid start, just 1.2 time penalties, completing the first round of riders in the FEI Nations Cup. Just the one rider clear inside the time in the early stages of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup cross-country phase, and that was the leader from the dressage, Maxime Livio, who came through in a time well inside the time, 6 seconds to be precise, and that means he remains on the score of 26.4. Nicholas Touzin has finished with 6:45, so picking up 2 time faults, and he goes on to 36.2. Out in the course, we've got Alexis Coury, Benjamin Massey, and Sydney Dufresne on Trésor. And there is Sydney coming round to the obstacle number 6. Just the one rider's had a problem at one of the fences, and as predicted, the time the issue. Struggling to get inside the 640. We'll see how this unravels for Sydney through 7, making the turn. We haven't seen any difficulties here. Boots into it, easy now, got a turn right-handed towards it, pops it nicely, so goes through the first of the 3 water complexes that they have to negotiate on this 3,800 metre course. Easily enough with his horse Trésor, an 11-year-old, with 31.4 their starting point. The first and second will remain the same. Going into the show jumping after Andreas Ostolt picking up those time penalties, so he will still be in second, but the gap has winded. But there's still less than a fence separating them. David Doyle currently lying in third with 33.0. Sydney now coming to 9, Sydney Dufresne. See how he pops the first part going downhill, just checking towards the little fence down in the dip there, and then they take a left-hand turn and head away down to 10, and then far away where there's another of the water combinations. This is Luc Chateau and Troubadour Campoux, I should say. Another 11-year-old. 41.5 was Luc Chateau's dressage score. First 2 days, we had rain on Thursday. Welcome relief to all and sundry, in terms of particularly the ground. Sunny day yesterday for the dressage, but they had more rain overnight. Heavy downpours. Obviously had to do some prolific watering, as we see him going to the northern water a little bit. Comes from going to the second part, but up to 8. Big spread that. We have had another rider clear inside the time. Alexis Coury has managed to go clear inside the time. The French rider on Trompe-l'œil d'Emery, well inside the time. 6:36, 4 seconds inside the time. Not as quick as Maxime Livio, but that has meant that he stays on his score of 30.0 into third. So we're now just watching Raphael Allard on his way. Luc Chateau, well, another rider inside the time, 6:39, has stayed on his dressage score of 41.5. So we've had 3 now inside the time. 3 all Frenchmen. We've had Maxime Livio, Alexis Gori, and now Luc Chateau is another one who's made it inside the time. Next here will be Benjamin Horry. So Maxime Livio having a few problems at 7B. First rider to have that, but he's still continuing on his way. Now heading towards and maybe through the next water complex, which is at 13 and 14. Benjamin Horry here. See how he negotiates 7 as he's coming down the hill. As a gallop downhill and then an uphill rise to the left-hand turn towards the first part of 7. Probably maybe 5 or 6 strides. Let's see what he does here. Pops that 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 he goes for. And then coming to the next. Oh, but keeps it together through there. An anxious moment there. There's 4 strides between B and C. There's a little ungainly, but the partnership remain intact. Nearly got a dunking. Now going to 8 and pops that. Looks like he's got some tack issues. Having to get his foot back in his stirrup as he heads to 9. Can't see whether he's managed to resolve it. Let's see as he heads down to 9 if he's reacquainted his foot with his spur on the right hand side. Going to 9 now, taking a longish route down round into 9A, and all back together, popping down the hill, and is away there. Jean-Adrien Klein-Adam, 17.2 time penalty faults in a time of 7:23, so he's moves into 14th. Just confirmed, just the 3 inside the time so far. Maxime Livio, Alexis Gori, and one other, and that one other is Luc Chateau with 41.5, his starting score. He was down the field in 104th, near the bottom of the dressage, but that will change, and he'll be going right up the leaderboard following that. So 1 rider out now, Maxime Livio is eliminated following a fall. So he's out of proceedings, having a fall at 15. That's the fence where you come down the hill and obviously has a fall, so immediately eliminated. It also had a refusal, so not quite his day. So we've got 2 riders out on the course at the moment. Jean-Luc Bigot coming down the hill now. See how he gets on through 7, riding Untitled Chapter. Nicely through the first 2 parts, just checking now, and that all looked pretty easy as he heads up the hill and towards 8, and then the gallop on to 9. Can freewheel a bit there midway through the course. And the horse looks to be enjoying himself. Quentin Faucheur next to go, and then Raphael Cochet. And Quentin Faucheur is on his way, just jumped 4 and is coming up the hill. So we watch Jean-Louis Bigot go through 9. Raphael Lallard is finished, just about. Benjamin Horry is coming towards the finish line. Quentin Faucheur now coming down the hill towards 7. Hanging around at this stage. Turning towards and round. Pops the first part. Well, taking his time through that. Error-free as he heads through. Raphael Cochet, the next rider to come through. Raphael Cochet just jumping 4 as we watch Quentin Faucheur just go through 9. And there he is, Raphael Cochet. Score of 35.3. 26.4 the leader, still Maxime Livio, one of 3 clear inside the time. Benjamin Horry picked up 9.2 time faults, 7:03, and is on a score of 51 at the moment. Leaves him in early stages 13th. There's Raphael coming down the hill again. Just having begun is now Niels Lefebvre. He's just on his way, jumping 2. But as we go back to Raphael Cochet coming through the water, booting into the final part, and he's out and on his way. First of the 3 water complexes negotiated safely enough. Not long now to the next group of Nations Cup riders. 12:07, we see Roxane Gonfard leading the next 8 riders who will be, scores will be counting to the team score, with France, Germany, Sweden, the 1, 2, 3 after the dressage. And Raphael galloping down that long stretch to 9. Steady line to 9. It's a reasonably steep drop down to the fence down at the bottom, but no one having any problems. Quentin Fuscher has had a problem at that. We didn't see it, but he did have a problem down at the second, that little pop down the bottom. And here is Cyril Lefebvre with a score of 40.0. He's in 98th spot. Jumps that Normandy fence. 6A and B. Cyril, she comes down with Crac de Foyard is the horse that he's riding, coming round. Stands off that, but gets through it. Now he's just having to work quite hard to get through C, but no problems. And there she is going up the hill. Cyril coming down to 9. Another rider clear inside the time. Jean-Loup Bijot was bang on the optimum time and 40.2. So he stays on his dressage score. So a well-judged round, bang on time. And here comes Francois Pont on Siam Talleyrand, 12-year-old, 33.5 they had as a score. Number 749. Raphael Cochet is heading towards the finish as we watch Francois go through the water. Pops that. And up the hill. Here he comes. Well, Quentin Fuscher can tell you that he's picked up 10.4 and a 1 penalty fault as well. That's to mean 20 penalty faults for a problem at the 9B. So he's on 66.6 so far. And this is Martin Amiot coming down now to the 6A and B, the little Normandy complex. Very pretty little combination in Normandy style of houses. And there he goes down the hill. Just starting is Mathieu Lemoine on Tropic Deauville. Let's see how Martin does through the water, coming to it, pops that, coming to the next part, and again, all easily enough done. Raphael Cochet picked up 1.6 time faults to be on 36.9, so that puts him into 8th currently. Maxime Livio still leads the way, as he will throughout, having gone clear at 26.4. Andreas Ostop will definitely be in 2nd going into the dressage, jumping tomorrow, having gone just outside the time, 1.6 time faults. Coming down to 9 is Martin Amiot, and he's through that. Getting ready soon for our next one more combination to go before Roxane Gonfard from Switzerland. He's on her way. We're there watching Mathieu Lemoine coming down through 5. Downhill run, and there's a little rise again here before the sweep right-handed to 6, and then it's downhill here. It's an up-and-hill and down-dale kind of track here that, again, is one of the defining features of this course here. To work a little hard to get to the first part, and then going through. Mathieu Lemoine. And gets through that one sweetly enough. On his way now up the hill. Here is Zoe Ivaz on Catapouf. The score is 35.6. Jumping 4. Uphill fence, fairly routine on uphill stride. And then it continues uphill towards 5 and along the top. And just coming into the start box is Roxane Gonfard. The next group of Nations Cup riders just walking around. Cyril Lefebvre and had 11.2 time faults, time of 7:08. 51.2 is his score now. Zoe Ivaz coming through 6. And she's through that and on her way. Roxane Gonfard is on her way now, the second of the Swiss team members. Earlier we saw Caroline Gerber pick a 31-year-old riding Opie de Saint-Louis, is on a score of 36.8. As we continue to watch Zoe on her way. Martin Amiot just coming to the finish. Francois Pont not too bad in his time, 3.2, 36.7 will be his score going into tomorrow's jumping. Well, here is Roxane Gonfard, the first of the second group of Nations Cup riders with Switzerland, currently in 7th spot. Caroline Gerber's already been and got 53.7 as her final score, with time faults adding to her initial score of 41.3. But Roxane Gonfard, the 31-year-old on Oppi de Cis Roxane. Oh dear, just a refusal there. The first refusal just was a little too keen into that, and a stride wrong, but represents and pops that. So a setback there early on for Roxane Gonfard, the 31-year-old. Just need to regroup now, heading down the hill after that little disappointment. I think that's the first problem at 6. So coming to now 7. Slow into that. It's got to keep the horse working hard as comes to the B part. Rather lunged for that, but untidy through it, but through it nonetheless. This could be a tough few minutes then for Roxane, looking at the evidence of that. Next rider to go will be Sandra Gustafson from Sweden, as Roxane continues on her way to 9. Then it will be first of the 3 Italian riders, Alberto Guigny. They weren't in the first group. They've only got a 3-rider team. Roxane now coming to 9. How's she going to negotiate this one? Pops the first part, coming down the hill. Little slow over it. I think time is not going to be something she's going to be able to achieve, and could be quite a few time faults coming her way. So here comes Sandra Gustafson down the hill for Sweden. On a score of 31.5, Coordinate is her horse. Now coming towards the second part. Oh dear, dear, dear. Now tries it again. Just got the stride all wrong into that. Does it now. Oh, all kinds of problems going on at the water for Sandra Gustafson. Missed the fence. So this has not been what the Swedes would have wanted. And she's going to try again. So costly mistakes, and I'll tell you what, paddles that as well, so not ideal, it has to be said, for Coordinate and Sandra Gustafson. So the troubles early on for Sandra Gustafson, and Sweden, Malin Josefsson, the first rider to go, and she had a problem out on course. I think it was at 18, and has finished on a score of 59.1. So for the Swedes, currently starting this competition in 3rd. It's not been a great start. Keep an eye on the first of the Swiss riders, Roxane Gonfard, who will be heading to the finish in due course. I think she's had a problem at 19 as well. Now, coming down is Alberto Guigny and Mollington for Italy, and 32.6 the 45-year-old Italian had in the dressage with his horse. Looks like there's been a hold, because I think there's a problem. You can see the red flag. Waiting on Roxane Gonfar's score. Not sure the reason for the hold at this stage. FEI Eventing picked up one jumping penalty, 20 penalty points, problem at 19B and 14.8 time faults. There's Alberto Guigny still being held at 7. Waiting on the score for Roxane Gonfar, the first of the second riders from the teams. She was out first of the second group. Had a problem at 6B. Score for Roxane Gonfar has come in. She's had one jumping penalty, 20 penalties and 15.2 times. So she finishes with 35.2 from the cross country. And that gives her a combined score of 72 exactly. So for Switzerland, at the moment, not a great start to proceedings. Still a hold with Alberto Guigny, just being held at 7. And then it will be Manuel Senra Chauvet, Karim Florent Lafoeg, Sander de Jong going for the Netherlands, Pauline Noor for Germany, and Will Furlong for Great Britain. Well, looks like we are on our way again. Alberto now is coming to us. We're picking out at this stage Manuel Senra Chauvet heading to 3, and just getting an eye on from my commentary position, I can see that Alberto Guigny has an anxious look over his shoulder when he was spotting something just to make sure he got through the water comfortably enough, but he has done, as we pick up the action here with the Spanish rider. Going on as well is Manuel Senra Chauvet, the 32-year-old, was 40th as an individual in the Europeans last year. And this 12-year-old horse called Cruising, 15th in Vairano, again earlier this year. So he now heads back up the here. No problems through 5 for the Spanish rider, Manuel Senra Chauvet. Heading now to 6. Actually, Manuel Senra Chauvet missed that when he's actually had a problem at the first fence. So just wait for confirmation on that. But that's what my scoreboard is saying. But he's on his way now. Fairly simple first fence, but obviously the horse not ideal from the Spanish perspective. One or two errors just coming in out on the course from one or two of the combinations. Let's see how Manuel gets on through the water now as he turns towards it. Coming towards it. And tidily enough, so regrouping, and regroups well through 7. First of the water complexes for the Spaniard. And Sandra Gustafson waiting to find out what's happened to her. She was having a few difficulties. She did through 7. Out on the course we got Alberto Guigny, the Italian. And also Manuel Senra is on his way. And there he is, coming now to 9. Next up will be from the Netherlands, Sandra de Jong, and the Spanish rider Manuel Senra through the complex at 9. And here is Karin-Florent Lafaueg for France, number 731 on Entebbe, his very good horse, coming now down. It's an Olympics horse. Jumped double clear here 12 months ago, finishing 2nd, 5th at Bremen, Team Gold in Rio, 10th Weg in 2006. So with a score of 32.0, plenty of experience here. Pops that. The French obviously in a very strong position with Maxime Livio going clear early, backing up his excellent dressage score of 26.4. Very few managing to go clear. And now he continues on his way. Let's see how he gets turning to 9. Sure, he's not going to be trying to eat up the ground. Just had 3 inside the time. And he's through 9. Next up, we'll be seeing Sandra de Jong. Her grey Enjoy. 9-year-old. 35.5. Pops the first, so she's on her way. And a steady start to her test as she comes to the 2nd. Pops that. Now there's a run round to 3. Past the carriage marathon complexes. And there's 2 routes through here, but and really being very deliberate. And jumps that and is on her way, but not the quickest of starts there for Sandra de Jong and Enjoy, going to 4. And they got Alberto Guigny and Mollington, 12.8 time faults for the Italian, 45.4 they finish on. And can confirm that retired was Sandra Gustafson for Sweden, so she has retired. She was having problems early on, but For the Italians, Alberto Guigni is safely round, but with 12.8 time faults to finish on a score of 45.4. As we continue to watch the Dutch rider, Sandra de Jong, coming now to 6. Let's see how she gets on through this one. Pops that one, and then nicely through that. Getting into her rhythm now. Coming down the hill next will be Pauline Knorr for Germany, currently lying in second. Andres Ostolt was clear but picked up some time faults. Let's see Sandra de Jong coming now to the first part at 7. Pops that. Cautiously into that, rather laboured over that, having to check hard to get to the third part, but gets through it. Not pretty, but sometimes it don't have to be pretty to get through, you've just got to be effective. And in the end, Sandra de Jong found a way of getting through 7, and on the way uphill she goes to 8. She comes to now. Again, not free-flowing, but it's still on her way. Now we're watching, we're going to be watching Pauline Knorr on Wilbert Bow, the young German rider. She's just 22 years of age, definitely an up-and-coming talent, with her 9-year-old, as we still watch Sana going through to 9. Again, it's quite hard work at the moment for the Dutch rider. The 23-year-old. Now here is Pauline Knorr for Germany, heading towards 6. Wilbert Bow is her horse. Coming through it now. And reasonably aggressively through that. So Pauline Knorr now coming toward the complex at 7. Boots into that. Oh dear, oh dear, dear, dear. Got it all wrong, and you can see the frustrations on her face. Just, the horse didn't want to know. Almost too aggressively going towards it. The horse just trotting around, being gathered by one of the staff here. So frustration, so Pauline Knorr out of the Nations Cup. Another grey on its way is Will Furlong. In fact, this is Gilles Pont. We've so this is Will Furlong coming down for Britain. Number 771, let's see how he gets on here. So far clear, popping this. Stands off the final part, but no problems. Quickly through that, so good start for Will Furlong. Coming up to 8. From a British perspective, David Dole was first to go, picked up 1.2, and with a relatively young team, 2 25-year-olds and Will Furlong, just 23 years of age, former national under-25 champion in Great Britain, and an individual and team gold at Young Riders back in 2015 in the European Championships. So he's much expected of him. A big group of young British riders emerging, and 3 of them are here as Will Furlong goes on his way. The last of the group of riders, second group of riders, can tell you that Karim Florent-Lafaueg is the second French rider to go clear inside the time for France, putting them in a very strong position. 2 riders have gone for France, 2 clear inside the time. Maxime Livio consolidating his position at the top of the leaderboard. And on Entebbe, Karim Florent-Lafaueg has come round clear in a time of 6:37 to stay on his dressage score of 32.0 and go into currently 3rd spot behind Maxime Livio and Andreas Ostolt. Terrific performance from the French riders on home soil here. As we continue to watch the next group of riders, and this is another British rider. This is Simon Grieve on the Rutman. He's on his way with a score of 37.8. So, coming through to this Simon Grieve, how's he going to get on? We'll confirm the news of all the scores in the Nations Cup in a moment, but obviously from a Swedish perspective and a French perspective, rather a German perspective, not great, with the second, Pauline Noor, having a tumble at 7B and retiring Sandra Gustafson. She'd had all sorts of problems at 7, but she eventually had to retire. So it has going to have a little impact on the Nations Cup, more pressure on the other 2 combinations, but Britain now off to a solid start with their 2, but still out on the course is Will Furlong. Looks as if he's trying to put in a pretty aggressive time on Colleen PZ, and currently heading way out to the far part of the course. Lionel Guillon on Tactique de Lalou is the rider we're watching here. And just starting to finish his round is Will Furlong. Looks as if he's coming to the end of his round, and looks as if it's been a pretty quick round, so maybe another good performance from the young British rider. Just pops the last gallops to the finish, and Will Furlong has become the second British rider to complete. We just wait on his time, but indications are that it was a pretty quick round, but what impact will that have on the leaderboard and the Nations Cup standings, with 2 lines, 2 completions now. The first 2 riders from each country has gone, but France, a flying start from the French with 2 clear rounds from their experienced pairing of Maxime Livio and Karim Florent-Lafaueg, both clear inside the time. Will Furlong completing the course inside the time, the first non-French rider to get through clear inside the time, remains on his dressage score of 31.0. Excellent performance from the young British rider, just 23 years of age, and he has helped consolidate Britain's position. 2 good rounds so far from their first 2 riders. David Dole just outside the time. Will Furlong 2 seconds inside the time. So still putting some pressure on the French, who've got off to this flying start on cross-country day with 2 clear rounds. Maxime Livio and Karim Florin-Lafaweg both clear inside the time. But now Will Furlong for Britain has also gone clear inside the time with his force Cullion P2. This is Richard Coney coming down, the young British rider on Canaskis. 29.4, his dressage score left him in 11th spot overnight. So if he can go clear inside the time, he will just be still within a fence of the leader, Maxime Livio. He comes to 7, just slightly cautiously into the first part, but gets through it. Now to part 3, the C part, and he comes through that nicely. Good effort through 7 from Richard Coney on this 10-year-old bay gelding, owned by Richard himself, coming to 8. Another rider clear inside the time is Gilles Pons for France, not competing in the Nations Cup, but he's gone clear, and he goes into 5th spot currently. Stays on his dress-up score of 32.1, well inside the time, 6:35. Clear round so far. Quickest Maximo Livio early on Picador. 6:34 was the time that he managed to get round this 3,800 meters course. As we pick up Arnaud Boiteau, riding Quariona in Hein. 31.4 was his score. News of Simon Grieve, he had time penalties, 22.8. To add to his dressage score of 37.8, so he's now on 22.8, 60.6. As we continue with Arnaud Boiteau, riding this 14-year-old bay gelding, owned by the French Institute of Equitation, to give it its full title, coming to 6. So Leon Gouillon out on the course, Richard Coney, Arnaud Boiteau, those are the riders. In fact, David Dole on his second horse. Of course, he rode first for the Nations Cup, but he's got an individual. He's got 3, I think, here. Chap is the horse he's riding now with 35.5. So David Dole and Champ is the horse he's got. But as we continue to watch Arnaud Boiteau go through 9. Due to come out onto the course will be Mark Todd, just after around about 12:49 on McLaren. A horse he hopes will be very much part of the WEG plans for him. We're watching David Dole here at the coming down through 5, now heading to the Normandy Cottages at 6. 25-year-old who's just got a good group of young horses, having a good 2018, this British rider. 6, and very tidily through that. That was very compact, very confidently ridden. Moving downhill now. Let's see how he goes through 7. Will he be equally as confident? Taking quite a tiger line into 7. Now it comes into the second part. Very sweetly to B. Now let's see. That was very good. Just has a look over his shoulder, make sure all's intact there. Yes, it is one of the best through that in terms of smoothness, without question there from David Dole on Chap. News of Lionel Guillon, another on Tactique de Leu. He's 3 clear inside the time as well, so we're getting quite a few coming. He came in 6:34, so quite a few now going clear inside the time, and he stays on his dressage score of 34.0. He was 54th at the start of this competition, but now right up there with that excellent round. And we've got other double clears, include Luc Chateau. He was well down the field after the dressage, 41.5, but that double clear. We've also had double clear, as I mentioned, from Lionel Guillon, Alex Goury, Gilles Pont, Karim Flan Lafoeg, and Will Furlong, all going clear. And now here is Time May Hust and Risotto May. Richard Coney, the British rider, just 1.2 time penalty faults, so that leaves him currently in 3rd spot, and he's 30.6, just 4.2 points behind the leader, with those 1.2 time faults coming in 6:43. So good effort from Richard Coney, impressive. So he's going to be in a prominent position, no doubt, going into the jumping on Sunday. Good chance for him, not competing in the Nations Cup, but on course for a good finish here in a very competitive CRC 3 start. There is Time Mirsut, just coming to 9. Marie Charlafus next to go. There she is at 5. All going the right-hand side. There is a fence the other side, but no one's seemingly electing to take that other route. Chalafus coming down the hill on her black gelding, Silas de la Ney, with 29.6. So good chance for her to leave herself in a very strong position. She's currently 4 points within the leader, coming through to 7, and now through 7C. She's through it. And then next there is Camille Lejeune, who's just started. Camille Lejeune here on 33.7, and Tahina de Ile starting the day in 50th. So the 1, 2, 3, Maxime Livio, Andreas Ostolt, Richard Coney, and Andreas Ostolt on 28.5 was just outside the time to widen the gap. Mark Todd obviously to go with Leonidas later on, and he is on a very good score of 27.6. So anything near the time, he'll keep himself within a fence of our leader, Maxime Livio. Way early on. Coming down the hill, Camille Lejeune. Nicholas Lucy, another young British rider, is on his way, just coming to the second fence. But let's see how Camille Lejeune gets through here and through 7. That's all right. Coming now to the next, and quickly through that. That's fine for Camille. We will have Mark Todd going shortly. Confirmed David Dole. I thought he was going quick. Well, I can confirm that he's gone clear inside the time. 6:39, a well-judged round from the 25-year-old British rider, so he'll stay on 35.5 on horse Chap. Not his horse for the Nations Cup. He was the first to go for Britain, but he is currently in 13 spots. So a good performance from Chap so far this weekend here at Arras de Pin. As Camille Lejeune comes to 9, popping that. And going up the hill. And here is Nicholas Lucy at 5. And his horse Proud Courage, 13-year-old bay gelding, which he owns. So now Nicholas Lucy turning left-handed to come to the combination at 7. Pops the first. Let's see how he gets on the second. Oh, has a little check into it. And then through the third, no problem. because Lucy continues on his way. Just hearing that their retirement is Thijs Meehust, retired towards the end of the round. So still going though. We have Marie-Charlotte Fuss. She had a refusal at the 20th, and I think she called it quits at that. They called it quits then. As Carlos Diaz Fernandez with his chestnut, his 8-year-old chestnut, Chimera CP, 38.1 they scored. Gives that one plenty of air, the second part of 5. And Marie-Charlotte Fuss picked up 2 time penalty faults for her round. 6:45 she got round in. Mid finishes on 31.6 going into the jumping. So good day for her. As we continue to watch Carlos Diaz Fernandez coming into 7. He's not hanging around through 7. My goodness me, that's one of the quickest through there. That was very aggressive and full of purpose. And, well, kicking on. And well, here's Mark Todd, the distinctive style. He's jumping 3, now he's coming to 4. Mark Todd on McLaren. This is the horse that imagine he'll be riding in the World Equestrian Games, the 62-year-old superstar of the sport. And let's see how he's going at this stage as McLaren bounds up the hill. Coming to the first part at 5, leaps that, comes now to the right-hand side. No problems at all for the great man as he heads down the hill with this 11-year-old McLaren owned by David and Catherine Thompson. Now coming round 2-6. Well, should be fairly straightforward for Toddy, and it is. Smoothly through that now, coming down the hill. Now left-handed towards the water. Sure he'll make this look pretty easy. Coming now to it. Pops the first part. Coming to the second. Steadily into that, but gets through it. And now moving forward there, and that's excellent from Mark Todd on his way with a score of 34.0. Now coming to 9, galloping across the rain-softened ground at much relief. It's almost now perfect ground given the rain they had on Thursday and indeed last night. Obviously they've had to water prolifically for some time. Here coming to 9, downhill fence into that. And easily and effectively through that up towards 10. And here's Andreas Holst with another of his horses, and 29.0. So again, in a really good position here if he can go clear inside the time. He was just outside the time on his Nations Cup ride. That was So Is Est. So obviously we'll have learned from that, and obviously we'll know where perhaps he might be able to make up that 4 seconds that he was outside the time. Just to coax the horse through Part B and gives the horse a pat. So here they come to it. And that's no difficulties there for Andreas Ostold. We've got Laura Collett to come through. She's got 38.7. And Christopher Burton will be in the next half an hour or so. So Sarah Bullimar on a very good Rev de Roue. So plenty of good combinations competing here. It's a high quality field, not only for the Nations Cup perspective. Nicholas Lucy can confirm the British rider. He was few seconds outside the time. He was 22 seconds at the time, picking up 8.8 time penalty faults to be on 45.5. Laura Collett now coming through 6. Walked the course with her yesterday, and she was knew she needed to keep it going. I wonder what she's going to make of 7 for the first time with this horse Findus at BFB. This chestnut, this 8-year-old chestnut, turning around now into it. Coming now to B. Ooh, a little slow, but now corrects the line and then responds well. That red flag knocked out, but should be no problem on the way through. Number 760. So out in the course we got Mark Todd going along nicely at the moment. Here is Laura Collett. There goes Laura through 9. Pops that through calmly enough. Robert Palm coming down on Coco Story, 37.8 there. Dressage score. And a Brits from Sweden is out on the course, and Quattrina, 32.9 was her score. At 5. Can tell you Mark Todd has gone round just outside the time, 1 second outside the optimum time, 6:41 to move to 34.4 at currently in 12th position after his dressage score of 34.0. So pretty good round from Mark Todd, but just outside the time. And obviously just proving the horse's well-being for WEG, I think, is the ultimate exercise, and clearly that wasn't bad today from Mark Todd. But he's got Leonidas, who's right in contention to win here, going later on, as Jonah Brist come to 7. Let's see how they get on through this one, through the first part. Now part 2, rather slowly towards that. Cautious, I think, is the best way of describing it. Another to knock the flag out on the corner, the red flag. But they're going on their hill, so up the hill. Tom Crisp here, the British rider on Cooley's Luxury. 36.5 is his starting score coming into the cross country here at Arras-le-Pin. Just hearing that Laura Collett's been eliminated from a problem at 20. She might have had a tumble there at 20. Horse and rider on their feet, I'm hearing. So out for Findus and PFB. She has got another horse to go, I believe. Mr. Bass is the horse that she'll be riding a little later. A horse that certainly will, maybe, could be part of the GB WEG team. Tom Crisp jumping 8. Andreas Ostholt on his horse that started with 29.0 has finished with 31.4. 2.4 time faults, just 6 seconds outside the optimum time, and has slipped down to 6th, and now a fence behind Maxime Livio, but he is still less than a fence behind him. In fact, 1.9 behind, so I should say 2.1 behind him in the with his other horse, So Is Est, those two both in the Nations Cup. There's Christopher Burton going on his way on Cooley Lands. Big weekend for him at Gatcombe over in the UK last weekend. And so Christopher Burton, the Australian, 28.3. So again, looking at another, anything near the optimum time will certainly keep him right in contention to having another big win. Here he comes. Coming to 6. This 10-year-old gelding, Irish sport horse. And very effortlessly through the 3-part 7 combination, through the first of the 3 water obstacles. So next up, Sarah Bullymore will be on her way, or is on her way, for Great Britain on Rev de Rouet, a very talented horse. Top 20 finish at Badminton. And again, looking forward to riding here.
Cette année à Badminton, deuxième du CCI, 4 étoiles de Pau l'année dernière. On va compare qu'elle était parmi les meilleures. Allez, bonne chance.
And there she comes, Sarah Bullymore.
Qui s'avance avec le dossard 759 et elle jouait pour une deuxième place en classement avec un dressage qui s'élève à 29 points.
See how she gets through here. No problem at all through 6. Taking it all in a stride. Just the 2 strides, and you could see it worked out just right for her. And again, all too comfortable for Sarah Bullymore as she goes through there. Continuing on this long gallop, heading towards 9. Talented horse, this. Here she comes to 9. Let's see, pops this one, and now it's quickly downhill. And that's very sweetly done to then move away to the next part of the course. Just Jonna Briest has also had a problem. She's been eliminated, the Swedish rider, and defaults coming home in 6:54. 43.4 is his score. That is Nicolas Touzin on his way on Eberly. So Tom Chris coming home to finish his, as we watch Nicolas Touzin go on the way. But Tom Chris just coming up in front of the chateau as we speak, and as we keep an eye on this Eberly, this 9-year-old horse with 31.5.
de pénalité de temps et le Maxime qui remonte un tout petit peu, on est à la 28e place avec un total de 42 points.
6:54, that's the time. Time cross is 5.6 and a combined cross-country and dressage score of 42.1.
Coming now is Nikolai Touzak, heading towards the second part, heading pretty positive. Just starting behind is Aurélie Reidweg of France. Just saw behind over Nicolas Touzan's shoulder, but as he heads towards 9. Tom Crisp, 5.6 time false is what he's got. He's going to be in 28, 42.1 with his horse Cooley's Luxury. As Nicolas Touzan goes through 9. Wait on Christopher Burton's score as well, because he's just finished. Here is Aurélie Reidweg coming down. Let's see how Aurélie Reidweg goes through 7. Just had to be a bit cute over the second part, but has managed to negotiate it.
Time for Mr. Burton of 7:13, 7 minutes and 13 seconds, that's 13.2 time for
Well, Christopher Burton has not come home inside the time. Rev de Rouet has come home clear inside. Sarah Bullimore has. Excellent round from her. 29.1 was her score at the start, and she is now moving into third. So that gives her a really good chance tomorrow, because she's less than a fence behind Maxime Livio with that double clip, with that clear. 29.1 she stays on. Maxime Livio 26.4. So a really good performance from Sarah Bullimore. But Christopher Burton just has slipped down the leaderboard. And I'll just confirm his score, because he picked up quite a few time faults. And as I say, he has come down the leaderboard. And just waiting on what his score is. Yes, I can confirm 7:13. He came 13.2, and he's now on 41.5. Oh, rather a little untidy there with Didier Villefert.
Celui qui a pris le départ maintenant était 4e du CCI, 3 étoiles avec un Todd Chic du Levant, sinon Rémi Pio que nous suivons avec un dressage à 33,7, le fils de Bolchevik, donc le complice de Rémi Pio qui est également son propriétaire. 700 chef, voici le dossard que vous pourrez suivre pour Rémi.
So Didier Villefert on his way, heading to 9. We got Remy Pilog about to, has just started, and Imogen Murray and her horse Ivor Gooden.
C'est-à-dire
Nikolai vient juste d'arriver avec 7 minutes 15 à son compteur, à son chronomètre, ce qui veut dire 14 points de pénalité de temps. Il y a eu 20 points à l'obstacle numéro 14B avec un refus, justement sur cette combinaison. Total donc de 34 points pour le cross, qui vient s'ajouter aux 31,5 du passage définitif à 65,5. Prochaine arrivée, celle d'Aurélie Rivet et de Rouen Vallée, qui pour l'instant ne se serait des jeux de toutes les difficultés de ce tracé. Elle est donc à la bord du numéro 18, le lac supérieur, avant d'arriver sur le lac de l'Orne. Et concernant Julien Chevalier-Diffère, là aussi tout va bien jusqu'à l'obstacle numéro 10.
Remy Pilog coming to 7 with Dolchik de Levant. I've got 33.7 again. No hassles for him. I can tell you Nicolas Touzin picked up 20 jumping penalties, and that was a problem at the middle part, second part of the water at 14, and he had 14 time faults as well, so 34, so 65.5 is the score for Nicolas Touzin, slipping down the order as we're watching Ivor Gooden and Imogen Murray on board, coming to 3. Talented horse. Has done her proud. Here comes Imogen through the second part at 5. Dressage score is 37.8. Well, she's also carrying the Wilbury pony, Hannah, coming now to be, oh, just had to be a bit clever there. The horse was responded, had to put in a short one, but no problems. Speedy, tends to be her style. So Imogen Murray through 7 up to 8.
Pour venir nous rejoindre ici au grand complet. Voilà, l'arrivée donc pour le chef avec un chronomètre de 6 minutes 36 pour ces 3 km restants. Donc 2,8 pour les pénalités de temps.
Imogen at 9.
Pour Tess Pétière.
Looks like she made that very easy. News of Aurélie Riedweg, the French rider. 6 time penalties, 35.8 is her score going into tomorrow's jumping.
6:47, that's 2.89 volts, 37.1 penalties after cross country with the French rider. are next to come out. They've gone clear so far. Toshi Kuo, Henry Kuo, clear up to fence number 17. Imogen Murray, great race for Ivan Goodman, clear up to 9. And Brice Lula has started and is clear up to fence number 7.
Ça c'est beau ça.
Just started Albert so far with Muriel CP for Spain.
And this is Bryce Luda coming through the water complex at 7. 32.2 the score. And again, another one easily through it. Not too many riders struggling and have failed to make it through. I think it might just be 6 so far have failed to get through. 2 in the Nations Cup, Sandra Gustafson and Pauline Noor. The others to fail to finish, Laura Collett, Maxine Livio, Joanna Belitza and Thijs Mehust. They've all failed to complete the course. Didier Villefer, 2.8 time faults for him, 6:47 his time, 37.1 his score. Whoop, I tell you what, a few problems here, and that was Alberto Hermosa Faras. Little bit anxious through there, just the horse back on a even keel, but that was a little bit worrying up there. No problems at that fence from many. This fence has caught out one, but not Alberto now. He's got the horse motoring again. So through 7. Has done that. Imogen Murray is coming through to complete, coming up at the top of the course far side and just in front of the chateau, just popping. There's 3 more, 1 more to go for her and Ivor Gooden as they go towards the line. Got Emily Baldwin is on her way. So coming up to the fence at 5 is Upper Court Cooley, ridden by Emily Baldwin. 32.2 is her current score. Jumps the first, and now comes to the combination on the right-hand side of the tree. No one's taking that left-hand side. Next lot of Nations Cup riders will be going in about 20 minutes' time as Emily Baldwin comes in there. Whoa, no, 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 no. Just got the line run going into it. And so that's costly for Emily Baldwin. Just a little too keen going into it. So has got 20 to add as she comes down the hill. Just needs to regroup mentally, keep the horse concentrating. Coming down the hill on Upper Court Cooley, 32.2. Well, obviously now that's going to be substantially added to. Coming to 7A now, keeping the horse going to B. Oh dear, not ideal over that. And now you could see it was all going wrong. And I think she's saying enough's enough. And just didn't go right from the moment the mistake at 6B coming into that, and the horse is definitely in a bit of a spooky mood. There's somebody there just behind there and just wanting to get out and back. So not Emily's day. So next up we have Niels Trevor from Germany, 38.1. Here he is coming. Out of 5, and part B, easily enough. Score of 38.1 for the German rider on this 10-year-old bay. The previous rider there, Emily Baldwin, was then the precursor to having and coming to that is Niels Trevor through that, now coming to C, and again quite wide going around that corner, but from B, between B and C, but no difficulties in the end. Next rider, David Dell, is on for a busy day. He's already had a couple going round and doing all right. Icefy, just some time faults, and Chap again went clear, so he's had 2 good rounds, and he's on his way as we continue to watch Niels Trevor heading towards 9. And here is David Dole again. On this time he's riding Dungen Dom Pignon, 8-year-old bay mare owned by Tim Page and Alice Page, now coming towards 6. Coming now to the 6th part, and that was very tidy, unflustered, riding with a great deal of confidence. Now coming to B part. Now let's see how he gets on at C. All in a very tidy manner, David Dole going through that. Keeps going, David Dole. Then we got Joyce van de Keulen going on Brent. Before we start again with the Tiziana Realini, will be the first to go of the next 3rd line of Nations Cup riders. It includes Nikolai Aldinger, and for France, who've begun so well, Donatien Chouli will be the rider for France. 2 clear rounds so far, inside the time for France, consolidating their position at the top of the FEI Nations Cup competition here. Joyce van der Keulen going through.
31st place in the dressage arena, but of course, with the cross country today, that will move them up to 5th or 6th place if they take home in time.
Here comes Joyce, Van der Kuylen down to the water complex. See how completes this one, but scrambling. Also lunged a little bit at that, but happily enough.
Auteur d'une belle performance à l'année dernière qui contribua justement à la victoire de l'équipe de France dans cette étape ornaise du circuit des Coupes des Nations. Le voici une nouvelle fois parmi les meilleurs cavaliers, puisqu'il est 21e après le dressage avec son fils de Bolchevique. Bienvenue Thibaut sur ce parcours de cross, vainqueur à Pompadour, lui qui était du voyage dans le temple des sports équestres à Aix-la-Chapelle. L'équipe de France terminée à la 2e place de la Coupe des Nations. C'est parti donc pour ce groupe qui était 4e championnat de France également l'année dernière.
Niels Trevor just across the finish line for Germany on 14.04, 7.02, 8.894, and a score of 46.9.
Niels Trevor est arrivé avec un parcours sans faute aux obstacles, mais 8.8 de pénalité de temps. 7 minutes de donc son score.
This rider is Thibaut Fournier from France. On Siani de Lathus, 31.0, the dressage score, 21st at the start of the day. Coming around 2.7. Whoa, dear. You thought that was a little untidy. Had all those short rides going to. Out there at 13 and 14. Oh, just a few problems there, missing the second section. And heading out was Joyce van der Kuylen out at 13 and 14. The second of the water complexes at the far end of the course. And they head up towards 15, another 3-part complex. They pop something and they go downhill a little brook. Let's see how she gets on here. That's the first part, down the hill. Pops that, and then you can just see through the trees the third part of the 15 combination. As we head back to the natives rider going through. I think there should be Samantha Birch going through. No, she's a bit further down that actually. This is in fact Constantine van Rikvorsel. And 7:05 and beat it. And the Belgian rider on 37.6, coming now at 2.7.
Started on the course now for Belgium, beat it, written by Constantine van Rikvorsel, horse he owns. Belgium won, of course, by the French Livio. There are a score of 37 points starters.
Only that's Samantha Birch going through.
Pour l'arrivée. Donc, du couple néerlandais, Joyce van de Kuyen et Brent, 7-13. Donc, suite à qu'il y aura un petit peu de temps dépassé également. Normal, hein, suite au refus sur le 14B. Pour Thibaut Fournier, tout va bien. Ce sera le prochain arrivé. Il aborde le deuxième quai, celui des eaux des lacs Lorne. Pour Samantha Birch, tout va bien.
And Constantine von Rijkersvork still coming down the hill now, number 705. Tell you, David Dell's third ride, he got picked up 6.4 time faults to be on 47.3 in into 44th, but I mean a good day, 3 rounds, but and 1 inside the time. Here goes Constantine van Rijkersvork through. This is Kenki Sato from Japan riding Shana Clough Contadora, 35.7. See how he gets on going through the third fence. The little double now to the big jump at 4 on an uphill, fairly routine. You just got to keep the momentum going, and does so in that case. So Kenki Sato now heading towards 6. Coming to 6. Thibaut Fournier went double clear for France, Signé de Lautas, and he's into 6th as we watch Kenki Sato head towards 7. He's not hanging around. And coming to the second part, pops it through, heading towards C, and he's through that. So on his way, 35.7, the starting score here. Emma McNabb is the next rider out on the course as we head out to 13 and 14. Let's see how going through here. That all looks pretty good for Constantine van Rijkersvork. And there's Emma McNabb. Emma McNabb, the Australian rider on an Irish Sport Horse Bay gelding, 10-year-old, Fernhill Tabasco, 31.4 her score as she jumps 4. Coming down now to 6, freewheeling towards 6. Waiting on see how Samantha Birch has got on for Australia.
7 minutes 39, she crosses the finish line. That's Samantha Birch with the King Cooley shoe-line for Australia.
I think she's got 23.6 time faults is what Samantha Birch has done as we watch Emma McNabb come through 7. Steady, and whoa, big leap off there, stood way off, but got to get away with it, and on they go. Confirmation of Samantha Birch's score of 23.6 to add to her 33.5. 57.1 is her score after 2 phases. 7:39 her time, once again following Emma McNabb along the way to 9. This is Simon Grieve going on his way on Drumbilla Metro, 34.4. Simon did have a horse earlier, the Ruttman. See how he got on. Had 22.8 time faults and is on 60.6 with the Ruttman. Constantine van Rijkersvorsel, 12.8 time faults to add, and he means he's on 50.4 as we continue with. So we'll just obviously Kenki Sato will be finishing next. We'll bring you his score, the Japanese. And a fall there for Simon Grieve at the second part as we move out and pick up with Emma McNabb going through 14. Simon just more frustration than anything else, probably. It was a softish fall, but gets up. Catching 1 or 2 out, you've got to be a bit shrewd there, and you can see that he's a little frustrated that he's ended up on the ground. Not sure where the horse is. Next will be Clara Loiseau. Yeah. And this is Clara Loiseau now on her way. Ultramet is the horse that she is riding. Heading to 6th, the fence that just caught Simon Grieve out a few moments ago. Horse has been caught, and she's safely through that. Just on the downhill slope, you just sometimes can just get it wrong, just maybe going a little too quick into it. There goes Clara. Wait on the score for Emma McNabb in a moment as we see Clara go through 7. That was tidy. Looks over her shoulder, but sees there's no alarms and kicks on. Ah, I must have by mistake. Well, we're getting ready for the next group of riders from the Nations Cup to come through. They'll be headed by Tiziana Realini on 53.7, and some time penalties and a fence problem saw Roxanne Gonford finish on 72. And this is Tiziana Realini down at the start. But we're out watching at the moment Claire Loiseau out at 13 and 14. There's the right 13 now coming to 14. Jump into the water, and then that's the next part and through it. That was easy enough for Clara Loiseau through 13 and 14. And this is Tom Crisp on Liberty and Glory. Earlier went on Cooley's Luxury. Tell you, Emma McNabb went clear inside the time, so that's a very good performance from her. She looked like she was going well on Fernhill Tabasco, and confirmation of that. 31.4 leaves her currently in 8, but on course for a good finish here as we watch Tom Crisp continue his way. Finished with 5.6 time faults on Cooley's Luxury to finish on 42.1, and here with 36.2. They're at the top of the hill and jumps that. But now we're ready for the next 8 riders in pretty quick succession. 2-minute intervals, they set them out for the third line of riders, starting with Switzerland's Tiziana Realini. Then it's Christopher Forsberg, out to having lost Sandra Gustafson, who fell. So she's out to Christopher Forsberg, needing to get round as we watch Tom go down through 6. And Clara Loiseau is coming up the hill to finish her round as Tom continues down the hill. And Tiziana Realini is on her way. So the third line of riders for the FEI Eventing Nations Cup are on their way. And Switzerland. But Tom Crisp coming through 7. Oh, leaps off a bit big at that final part, but is through it. But Tiziana Realini, the 34-year-old Swiss rider, riding Tout Bleu de Rouillet. And started with 35.4. And we'll be hoping to improve. Switzerland currently topping up the table as Tom carries on his way. And we'll pick Tatiana as she's just jumping 4 and has gone over that. And then the uphill run as Tom continues to 9. He's not hanging around, is Tom?
Switzerland started on a score of 35.4.
Down the hill is pricked. Horse looks as if Liberty and Glory is having some fun. The horse owned by Robin Belfort and Sophie Crisp. There is Tiziana Realini, the 34-year-old Swiss rider. Let's see how she gets on through 6 on this grey. 11-year-old, Tout Bleu de Rouillet. And coming now. All right, just having to be angled into 6, first part, and well enough. Easy to single out there with that colours she's wearing. Now let's see how she gets through 7. Coming to the first bit. Now part B. Nothing wrong with that. So good start so far for Tiziana Realini. Can she keep it going to produce a good round for Switzerland? Beat Sachs, their last rider. Here we're out with Tom Chris up at 14, the second of the water complexes, and he's gone through that. As we pick up now with Christopher Forsberg for Sweden. On his way coming to 3, he's taking a fairly steady approach to the beginning of his round. Beginning on 30.3, Hippo Sapporo. The 7th in the Nations Cup in Italy, and has competed in some Event Riders Masters. Best finish in that series so far, 14th. So the 27-year-old Swiss rider going up the hill now. Keeping it going. Now, galloping up the hill now to 5, just behind the tree. Can't see that fence here, but here it comes now. And now to the second part. Easy enough on the angle, heading downhill. Fairly straightforward. But now getting some momentum going. Winding and getting into the rhythm is Christopher Forsberg. One, and easily enough through that. Kelly Clara was Walazzo is 1.2 time faults and finishing on 35.9, but this is still Christopher Forsberg with Nations Cup issues here. Comes to 7, pops 7, now turns towards the second part. I don't know whether having to regroup. So another Swedish rider having problems at the first water complex. Just seemed to get it all wrong. And so, seem to be getting into a rhythm, but definitely not ideal. So, a few problems there for the Swedes having issues today, with Sandra Gustafson retiring and not good. So they are struggling today. The Swedes, who began in 3rd spot, I think it was, but they're now slipping down the field and penalty points accruing. And next to go will be from Italy, Ludovica Manzoli, the 22-year-old, running Pin Du Haras. And as Christopher Forsberg going on his way, having had those difficulties at 7. Just waiting for what they're saying scoring-wise there. but he's jumped 8 clear. As here comes Ludovica Manzoli, 34.7. Here she comes. Down the hill. Coming towards the lake now. 7 pops that. Takes the time. Easily enough. Not just untidy coming out of it, but recovers and has moved on up the hill. So Ludovica Manzoli through 7, heading up to 8 now. And will be the next from Spain will be Gonzalo Blasco Bota for Spain, where so far for Spain we've had Esteban Benitez Val, as we continue to watch Manzoli head towards 9. Spain with their 2 riders both getting round with time faults. Tom Crisp, he was going well on Liberty and Glory. Well, he has gone well, clear inside the time, 6:38. Stays on his score as 36.2 as Ludovica Manzoli goes through 9 and does that all right. Tiziana Realini, well, a really good round from the Swiss rider because she's clear inside the time. I mean, bang on the optimum time of 6:40, so leaves her on 35.4. Really good effort from Tiziana Realini, the first of this line of Nations Cup riders to complete. So that is a good effort to finish on that score. Just what the Swiss needed to get a clear round. And that'll help their scoring situation. Sweden, the team that have struggled today with mistakes, but not Switzerland will be pleased with that, as the next rider on his way is Gonzalo Blasco Bota. As we pick up the action out on the course, as Ludovica Manzoli is going through 14. So to the Normandy houses. And coming through is Gonzalo Blasco Bota, 33.5 his score as he heads down the hill. It looks like there were no problems for Christopher Forsberg. Looking at my job, and I said he had problems at that fence. Well, it looks like it's been cleared, but we'll wait for confirmation on that. As you can quite see from the angle as we continue to pick up Gonzalo Blasco Bota through 8. Now to the next little complex, 9, A and B. So continuing now for France, it is their third rider, Doniashin Shuli, on 30.0. They've been in good form as he comes to the Normandy fences. Pops those easily enough. Riding Pivot des Touches. And a couple, again, competing in a couple of Event Riders Masters. He was riding with degree of confidence. Just starting is Elaine Penn from Holland through 7. See how through B. As quick as anyone, probably through 7. And up the hill. They've already had 2 clear rounds. Maxime Livio sitting at the top of the leaderboard in the individual, but he's on 26.4. And Karim Florent Laroueg was clear on Entebbe, 32.0. As we move forward to Gonzalo Blasco Botta, and he's through 13 and 14. That lake complex at the far end. And here comes Donatien, surely. Into 9. Tell you what, Christopher Forsberg, well, all things considered, well, he's picked up 11 penalty volts. A frangible pin went down. That presumably just confirm where that did go down. It was at 7A and 11 and time penalties, so he's on 48.5. So that's news of what that. And Ludovic Manzoli, just 6 time penalties for the Italian rider. So she finishes on 40.7 as we continue the action now with the next rider, Elaine Penn, coming down towards 6. Horse taking a keen hold, horse being undercover. Ears pricked out, little jink to the left, but no problems. So it'll be interesting to see how the team standings look going into the final round of riders here. Sweden having problems now, slipped back with 157, 3 of 4, and all 3, and the next rider has to count as Elaine Penn goes through 7. The 28-year-old who was part of the bronze medal winning team here in 2014 was 12th individually, and earlier this year won a CIC 3-star, beating David Dole in pretty convincing fashion. But here she comes now, striding out with her horse undercover. A couple more still to go. Nikolai Aldinger for Germany and Fiona Cashel as Elaine is trying to steer the horse around. 2-9, straightening up now. And that's all good for her. Just confirming Kinki Sato for Japan. Well, he was bang on the optimum time. Just his score coming through, 35.7. But now we're back on the Nations Cup with Nikolai Aldinger for Germany. And remember, their second rider had a tumble. So important for Germany that Newell gets round under Nikolai Aldinger with 33.5. He was sitting in second place at the start of the day. So this is a big round here for Nikolai. And on this young 10-year-old, definitely striking grey horse too, coming to the Normandy houses, pops the first part, tidy, plenty of economy of effort in that case. There he goes. Now into 7. He is pricked through the first part. Now the second part. Oh, little anxious moment there. You could see the reactions from some of the spectators there as he just skewed a little bit on that one. But horse clever, Nikolai clever, the 30-year-old German rider, getting the horse to come now to the spread at 8. You can see it's taking a little bit of a pounding. Everyone seemed to be adopting the same line, jumping that fence. Now heading to the next, the final rider in this line of Nations Cup one is the British rider Fiona Cashel on Criva Silva de Haar. 34.9 her starting point as we continue with Nikolai to 9. Coming to that. And that is all good so far. So, but I can tell you, Gonzalo Blasco Burton for Spain has come home with 14 time penalty points. No jumping penalties to add, so 14 to add to his time. 47.5 is now as we pick up with Fiona Cashel, the experienced British rider, 36 years of age, coming now, jumps 5, and obviously important to consolidate what has been a decent enough start by the British team on cross-country day here, with David Dole and Will Furlong. Will Furlong, case just going clear inside the time. David Dole just picking up 1.2. And Germany obviously needing Nikolai Aldinger to get round as Fiona comes to the Normandy houses with her horse Kriva Silver de Haar. Can she keep it going? Soon to finish will be Donation surely. Like he looks like he's finishing any moment now as we watch Fiona go through the water complex at 7 and all tidy and just keeping the horse up to his mark, the grey gelding, the 10-year-old. And so Kriva Silver de Haar is going along nicely enough. And I can tell you, Donation surely has just come home outside the time, but only 2 seconds, and so it's 0.8 time penalty faults to add. And so the French dominance of this Nations Cup competition continues because they move on to, he finishes on 30.8, and it moves their score on to 89.1. So another really solid effort by Donation surely as they dominate this Nations Cup competition, sitting in a strong position after 3 riders have gone, with that round just outside the optimum time. And Donation surely will now move into 5th spot. French going along very well on cross-country day. Alexis Gordy now coming, who's not in the Nations Cup, just coming through 6. So we've got Elaine Payne score to come through. See how the Dutch are sitting after this, and then be able to give you the classification of where it stands at the moment. For France, Germany, Britain, Netherlands in 4th. Switzerland have had a good day with that excellent round a moment ago, was moved up to 5th. Italy 6, Spain 7, Sweden 8. And through Alexis Gordy goes, but there will be interest on the next horse that's about to go out on the course. Mark Todd on Leonidas. Confirmation of Elaine Payne for the Netherlands. 3.6 time penalties to add to her dressage score of 31.9, 35.5, 6:49 she came home in on her horse Undercover. And that means, well, a good performance nonetheless from the Dutch. That on 35.5. And now here is Mark Todd on Leonidas. Such a talented horse. He's performed so well in many years at Badminton, 14th earlier this year. Had been competing over the last 4 years. His go-to horse, ever reliable. But there is rode McLaren earlier. Did Mark Todd. See how, I'm sure this little fence will present no problems to Mark. And it doesn't. News of Germany's Nikolai Aldinger coming home in a time of 6:56 and 6.4 time penalty faults at combined cross-country and dressage score of 39.9. And that means that Germany are now on a score of 96.9. The gap widening between France and Germany. Just one more score to come in at this stage, and that will be the score of Fiona Cashel. Because can Britain overhaul Germany with one rider to go from each team? But still, good recovery from Germany after their second rider took a tumble. As we continue to watch Mark Todd on Leonidas here. And Leonidas has a score of 27.6 following the dressage, with the leader Maxime Livio in the individual on 26.4. So plenty at stake here and pressure to be put on Maxime Livio in tomorrow's show jumping. Yes. This is Sydney Dufresne is on his way here. Just waiting for confirmation of Fiona Cashel's score as she comes to the end of her round, as we continue with Sydney Dufresne, the French rider. Here's Sarah Bullimore coming down. She had a good round on Rev de Rouet earlier. This is those keeping within touching distance of Maxime Livio. She did with Rev de Rouet, a clear round inside the time, and she's on 29.1 there. And 30.0 with this horse as she comes now to 7. Takes it well enough, just taking that angle round and gets through it. Coming up the hill towards 8. Well, news of Fiona Cashel, the final rider in the third group of Nations Cup riders here at Arras de Pin. Well, she's come home with 4.8 time penalties, coming home in 6:52. That's 12 seconds outside the optimum time, and that means her combined dressage and cross-country score is 39.7. And the situation after the third rounder sees the leaderboard with France in a dominant position, 89.1, ahead of Germany on 96.9, Britain in third on 99.5. The Dutch lie in fourth on 114.3. The Swiss, with their third rider, Tiziana Riolini, putting an excellent round across country, moving up to fifth. The Italians in sixth, Spain in seventh, and Sweden in eighth. But it's the French who lead with one rider from each team still to go on cross-country day here in Arras de Pin, who are delighting their home fans here with a wonderful display of cross-country jumping around this famous Arras de Pin venue. And this is Pauline Knorr coming to the water jump. She had problems earlier in the Nations Cup, but she's safely through that there. Having had those difficulties, she's put them behind them, and on the way she goes on her horse Starlight 281, 31.2. So just looking at the leaderboard in terms of the individual, looking within a fence of the leader, we have Andres Ostolt and Sarah Bullimore. Richard Coney's in fourth, but 30.6, and that's 4.2 adrift. And then 4.4 adrift is Donette and Chauly. So the French going along nicely. And then Will Furlong, bit of a battle between Britain, Germany and France at the top of the leaderboard. Emma McNabb with her double, with her clear. She is well inside the time. That was the quickest time she's produced, 6:27. She must have flown round because she is on 31.4. So good performance from Emma McNabb on Fernhill Tabasco, but it's Maxime Livio who leads the way. We'll just be waiting to see what Mark Todd is able to post here on his horse Leonidas. He's coming to the end of his round, so his score should be coming through very shortly as we continue with Tim Lips here from Holland. Then we'll have Laura Collett on Mr. Bass. Well, great news for Mark Todd's supporters, because he's clear inside the time, 2 seconds inside the optimum time. A masterclass again from the veteran, 62 years of age. But Leonidas is on 27.6 going into the jumping, and that is just 1.2 behind Maxime Livio. So the 1, 2, 3, Maxime Livio, Mark Todd and Andreas Ostolt, some classy riders. And the 1, 2, 3, Sarah Bullimore in fourth. This is in the individual competition. As far as the team classification is concerned, it's France, Germany, and GB. Great Britain is the 1, 2, 3. As continuing is Tim Lips. Laura Collett is just starting on Mr. Bass, and she too will have aspirations of being right on the coattails of Maxime Livio, because she's on 28.8, and this is an important day for her because Mr. Bass has, well, there's a big competition going on in Hartbury in the UK to sort out the team from the European champions, and Mr. Bass could be one of those. Just knocks that flag on the way down. Hopefully no problems for her there as she comes down the hill. And problems earlier for Laura Collett. She couldn't complete, but this horse is the one that shouldn't have too many problems. So let's see, go through 6. And a little pat for Mr. Bass coming down past us. And following her through 7. Also got Andreas Ostolt to come on 28.4 now. Here Mr. Bass through 7. Pops the first part. Comes to second. Oh, a little bit slow through there, but having to work hard. Oh, dear, dear, dear. That was a little untidy. And didn't quite get the momentum going through the fence, but made it through. Clever from both of them to make sure there were no alarms, but just need to keep going. But through and on their way, heading to 9. Heading down to 9. Confirmation of Sarah Bullimore, Laura's compatriot. She finished with 2.4 time faults and is on 32.4 on Compiègne. She is lying in fourth with Rêve de Rouet as we watch Mr. Bass going through 9 and Laura Collett. They're through that now uphill. Can they keep it going and keep, but within striking distance of Maxime Livio, as the next rider here is Benjamin Massey. This is Cedric Liard coming down towards 6. News of Pauline Noor, better round with her second horse, because she has completed with 6.4 time penalties, 37.6. And Cedric Liard and Qatar de Pêche Rouget. Important moment for them as we pick up further action with Benjamin Massey out at 13 and 14. Now David Dole going again, his fourth ride. Busy day for the young British rider. He's had a pretty decent one. Probably knows the scores now like the back of his hand, having jumped it 3 times already. Actually, not many have done that route. So maybe this is a more cautious performance from his 8-year-old here, Kani Holrua, with 47.4. Out of the education process, not going to do anything too stupid here. Maybe with his final horse. News of Tim Lips, he's got 8.4 time penalties to add to his score. So this is on Eclipse, not riding out in the Nations Cup he was. As we watch David Dole up at 5. Wasn't happy with his dressage yesterday with a 47.4. I think it meant he was propping up the table. What really stands off that, that's brave from the horse. But all happily negotiated. And news of Mr. Bass and Laura Collett. They've got round 1.6 time penalties and are on 30.4 into 5th spot. And that's exactly 4 behind Maxime Livio. So in the hunt, it's a French, New Zealand, German, British top 5, but Maxime Livio leading the way. Could be for a very intriguing afternoon's jumping tomorrow. As Will Furlong is the next rider to be coming down on Cooley Zest. Went earlier for Britain in the Nations Cup. The 23-year-old went clear too, inside the time. And he's not looking as if he wants to hang around here either. On 35.8. Starting in 74th spot. If he stays on that with us, coming near to the end, be inside the, just about inside, well, be just outside the top 30. As expected, not that many inside the time. Quickest Emma McNabb was 6:27. David Dole managed it. He's down in 28th spot. 1 or 2 others There's a big move in terms of, saw Luc Chateau starting in 104th spot. Well, he's now moved just outside the top 50. Spanish rider Niels Trevor was clear inside the time. So was Imogen Murray and Ivor Gooden, now lying in 40th. Tom Crisp went clear inside the time on Liberty and Glory. So did Kenki Sato from Japan on Shanaklof Contadora. Good run from him on 35.7 going into tomorrow. Tiziana Realini for Switzerland in the Nations Cup went clear. Bang on the optimum time of 6:40. As we watch Nicolas Touzin go through 7. Continuing a look at the Clara Loiseau, she went clear, 6:40, bang on the optimum time for her too. Just a second inside the optimum time was Cedric Liard and Qatar Depeche Rouget just a moment ago, 6:39, so he moves up to 22nd. His solid performer who just sort of does the business, wouldn't be described as flashy, but knows the time of day as we watch Nicolas Touzin continue down on absolute gold here. 34.2 was his score. Heading out to 13 and 14, Will Furlong continuing to pile on the pressure as he goes through the second order obstacle. He's keen to keep the momentum going in his round, and he's doing exactly that on his horse, 35.8. Here's Nicolas Touzin as 7. That's fine, that's gets through that on absolute gold. Andreas Ostot will be next out on Pennsylvania 28. And we've got Karim Florent-Loreg, who went clear earlier for France and has helped put them in the dominant position in the Nations Cup competition. As Nicolas Touzin continues on his way through 8. And we've also got Maxime Livio to go again with Opium de Verrières and Nikolai Aldinger and Sandra Gustafson, who was riding earlier but had a tip up. She's got a second horse, but this is not in the final riders, so plenty of horses, combinations or riders who've had a spin round around the Pin already. Mentioning some of the double clears, Arnaud Boiteau, well, not double clears, but clear inside the time. Thibaut Fournier was. Will Furlong, mentioned Colleen, he's out on the course at the moment. Sarah Bullimore did. Mark Todd and Maxime Livio. As we continue with Andreas Ostot. Now this combination are on 28.4. So a significant moment. Andreas already in third spot on 28.5.
David Dole and Carly Hall grew a total of time of 6:56 and a total of 6.4 time faults, 53.8 penalties.
Here comes Andreas down through 6.
Arrivée prochaine, celle de Will Furlong. Quant à Andreas Ostot, le cavalier qui avait ses 3 chevaux dans le top 10, eh bien,
Down the hill and round.
cavalier allemand que vous suivrez avec ses 183.
Ken looking for, keep the speed going into it. Positively through it.
Aussi à titre individuel avec le Tour de Fontaine, le cavalier qui contribuait.
It's not as smooth as some, but as effective as many.
Karim Florent-Loreg and Tour de Fontaine have just started. They go first fence, first 2 fences. Karim riding Tour de Fontaine owned by Antoine Dissy. They are scoring 32.7. Written 7 minutes and 4 seconds, 9.6 time faults, and a combined score of 45.4.
Well, it's been a good day for David Dole. All 4 of his horses getting round. And despite a disappointing dressage, he'll be pleased that Carniho Rua came through with just 6.4 time penalties and is on 53.8 and moving up the leaderboard into around about just outside the top 70. As we're now with Karim Florin Locheg with his 11-year-old Triton Fontaine. And that's Andreas Ossot going through 14. And we pick up Karim Florin Lafaway going through 7. This is Marlene Josephson, rode earlier for Sweden. And finished on a score of 59.1. Had an error at one of the fences. Run out somewhere. But here, heading to 5 on Golden Midnight, 33.6, the dressage score. News of Nicolas Touzin on absolute gold. Another clear round inside the time, moving up to 34 point, staying on 34.2 and up to 21st now. As we continue with Marlene Josephson. And this is Alberto Guini in Mischievous, grey. He scored 42.9 in the dressage. Alberto did go, but had 12.8 time faults for the part of the Nations Cup, one of the 3 Italians competing here. Last one to go will be Marco Biasia. Shortly, as we're heading towards the final line of riders for the Nations Cup, final group of 8. And moving out to Marlene Josephson. Andres Olstolt has finished and can confirm his score. 2 time faults, so 6:45 he comes home in. That's 5 seconds outside the optimum time. So he gets 2 time faults. And he's on 30.4, which is the same score as Nora Collett. But because she was nearer the optimum time, she is at 5th spot. Coming down to 9. Bertaguini through that. Next we're going to see Maxime Livio. He's just coming through to 5. Here he is, our leader with Picador. Here he is on Opium de Verrières, 30.3. So he could be right in the mix with 2 horses within, or with a horse within 4 points of his lead score of 26.4 with Picador, the young French rider, just 31 years of age. Very much one of the young breed of French event riders, very competitive. Comes in to 7. No. So through the water at 7 is Maxime Livio. This is Nikolai Aldinger. Sorry, Maxime Livio this is. Heading to 9. Nikolai Aldinger on tactic 4, 36.5, going up the hill towards 5. News of Karim Florent-Lafueg and Triton Fontaine, 2.8 time penalties, 35.5 their score, adding 2.8 to their dressage score of 32.7. And here's Sandra Gustafson coming down towards 7. And now we're getting ready for the final line of riders. And I can tell you Beat Sachs is on his way for Switzerland, 33.7. But let's see Sandra Gustafson going through here. Horse willingly going through there. Cabdrat on 33.3. Now the final 8 riders to come, all with significant parts to play in the Nations Cup today. As Sandra Gustafson, who went earlier and had to retire with a problem at the water, but she safely negotiated that now. And later on it all was quite tough for her. But now maybe looking as if she's going to have a better round second time around, but not going to have any impact on the team performance as she jumps that. But we'll pick up Beat Sachs now, the veteran Swiss rider, because he is coming across to this fence 5. Riding Secret, the 4th, 33.7, 59-year-old. And Switzerland with their third rider, Tiziana Realini, going clear inside the time, has moved them significantly up the leaderboard. Oh, coming to 6. Now, whoa, he's very close to that. I just have to sure he's possibly all right, but took a very interesting line going that side of the trees. Hope he's all right going through that. Wait to see what the judge says. But coming to 7. Coaxing the horse through. That's all good. Good effort from Secret the Fourth, the 10-year-old, 33.7. We're up here with Sandra Gustafson through 13 and 14. Once again with Beat Sachs coming through 8. So far so good. And all judged clear, even through that little issue at 6, I believe. No, it hasn't come up on my score yet. Just confirming he's clear through 5 on the score, although we've seen him jump it just in case there is an issue with that line. It should be all right. So on his way. Now, here is Louise Svensson-Jarder, 29.4. Waikiki, 207. Again, a good round here. The Swedes need it. And also from her own perspective. And to make sure that she's able to play a part and keep Sweden right in the mix after a disappointing opening start. So really need something good from her. As all 2 riders now will be counting. She needs to try and provide damage limitation here as she heads at full tilt down the hill to the Normandy houses. Coming now. That's all good. And there we move out forward to Beat Sachs, jumping 13, coming into the water, jumps 14A and then to B. Come back and join Louise Svensson-Jarder as she jumps that. Now heading to the second part. That's all good. And all still waiting for confirmation. Might have been a little problem at A and B. Haven't had a confirmation that he's all clear at A and B. Maybe they're just reviewing that. But he's now heading out now to the 15th fence as we continue with the Swedish rider. 28 years of age, 11th last year in the last year's Europeans, on a different horse admittedly, but still one of the, again, a decent pool of Swedish riders. Definitely been a resurgence of the quality of event riders. Excited about the future. Use of Maxime Livio in the individual competition on board Opium de Verrières, 1.2 time faults. So he's on 31.5 on his second horse. So slips down a bit. Of course, he is leading the way on Picador. As now we are with Marco Biasia of Italy, their third rider. Only a 3-rider team here. Coming to 5. Ooh, a little bit cumbersome into that. This looks as he's going to have some work cut out here, judging by the early indications. Wasn't particularly smooth through 5. See what they can do through 6. Tell you, Sandra Gustafson, 4.4 time fault. She'll be pleased with that, 6:51. Again, not as far as the Nations Cup is concerned, but this is as far as the Nations Cup is concerned, as Marco Biasia comes to the Normandy fences, pops those sweetly enough. back forward now to 13 and 14. Here is Louise Svensson-Jada coming through on this grey, and she's keeping the horse up to the mark here as we switch back to 7 and Marco Biazia. And he comes through A, pops A, turning to B, combination into the water. Now a quick right to C, and then up the hill and off to 8 and away to the rest of the course. About to go from Spain will be Maria Pinedo Sendagorta on Carriam Con Von Colin, and she's just started. But here we can see Marco Biazia going through. We'll be looking to see how. Can tell you that Beat Sachs has been eliminated at 19. So Switzerland have got 3 riders through, but not Beat Sachs. So not quite sure what happened at 19. The final water complex, but he is out. So that means Switzerland will stay on there. It looks like they score 122.8. We'll confirm what their final standings are at the end. So the French in a strong position here as we pick up the Spanish rider Maria Pinedo Sendagorta, this 15-year-old chestnut gelding she's riding. A 32-year-old was 26th in last year's European Championships in Strachan. Coming now to 6, I can see that Louise Svensson-Jada is coming to the end of her round as we pick up the action with Marco Biazia at 13. Well, the lunges at that, that's better. 14 to the second part, and then out and through, and then up to 15. Here comes Maria into 7. And it's very nicely through that. Good vantage point where this is, because just behind them there is the 19th fence, which is again a little tight water complex. And here she comes again, over to 8, and then away down. So waiting on the score for Louise Svensson-Jada, who has finished. There she goes to 9, Maria. Waiting on the score as we see the next rider coming down, which is Astier Nikolai, the highest ranked rider here for France, riding Vinci de la Vigne with 31.9. Of course, it's been a very successful day, 2 clear rounds inside the time. And so if he goes clear inside the time, it'll be a very satisfactory day for the French here, consolidating their position at the top. And you'd be very surprised if something goes wrong here with this admittedly a young horse, but one that Astier has the highest regard for. And again, something so competitive. But I can confirm that Louise Vincent Jada has gone clear inside the time for Sweden, 3 seconds inside the optimum time. Terrific performance, restoring some credibility after a difficult day for some of the other Swedish riders, but stays on 29.4, and not only has made a huge contribution to the Swedish effort here, but has an outside chance maybe of even winning the individual CIC 3-star competition here, as she sits within a fence of the leader Maxime Livio on 26.4. And now here's Raf Koeremans for the Netherlands, coming to the end of this 3-star cross-country competition. Plenty more going on here aside from this. CIC 2 stars. So plenty going on as Raf Koeremans for the Netherlands lying in 4th at the moment, as the scores are being updated, with Switzerland finishing on 161.1. Sweden will stay on 157.0, I believe. But again, just waiting to see how it all pans out. Marco Biasia has come home as well. So good effort from the Italian, just waiting on his time. As we watch Raf Koeremans continue on his merry way. The 41-year-old. Our horse has had a couple of top 10 finishes, one in a CCI, one in a CIC, so been performing well enough. And tasked with being the last rider here. And all looking good here through 7. Now we can see coming home is the Maria Penedesing Negorta coming home on the far side. Just coming now to the final fence, pings that and heads towards the line. So it's success for her. Well-deserved pat on the neck for her horse. Karim van Kolen will wait on her score, but I can confirm that Marco Biasia completing with 14.4 time faults, and so that means he's on 51.8. And just to keep tabs of the scores here, so Italy, and that's certainly given Spain a degree of respectability. As we now watch the German rider Bjorn Warner, and he can't afford any slip-ups as they've had lost one rider, Pauline North, so needs to complete. And he's coming down on Vico Pop. The last rider to go will be Tom Jackson, who's just moving to the start box as I speak. But here is Bjorn Warner coming to the Normandy houses here. Ears pricked, easy enough, down the hill. Happy with what he's seen there as he encourages his horse. Heading now round to the 7th. Here he comes into it. A little bit hard work, but in the end, out through. Still 2 more water complexes to come at 14 and 19. But most of these riders not having too many problems. It's, as predicted, the time is always going to be the tester, but many have made it, and made it an intriguing day's cross-country as we continue with Bjorn Warner on Vico Pop, this 10-year-old. Tom Jackson is on his way. So the final rider in this CIC 3-star is on his way, and Tom Jackson for Great Britain. And just looking at the way the leaderboard is confirmed, Maria Pineda Santagorta for Spain picks up 5.2 and finishes on 45.0. So Spain now have got 133 this stage. I will go through the leaderboard in a moment, but as we continue with Tom Jackson here on Billy Cuckoo, 33.4 was his score. Coming round up at 5. There are other riders going well. David Dole, Will Furlong and Fiona Cashel. But again, it's trying to close the gap on France. Coming down and round 2-6. Gathering up, Tom Jackson. Just 25 years of age. Winner at Burton in April. 6th in Tattersall, has been having a solid year with this horse. Now coming to 7. Well, I can confirm it's been a fabulous day for the French because Astier Nikolai has gone clear. 3 of the 4 French combinations clear inside the time, and Astier Nikolai storming his way round in 6:32 on Vinci de la Vigne, and that means France are in a really strong position after the cross-country. Terrific display round the home track here in France, and Astier Nikolai finishing on 31.9, his dressage score, and France firmly out in front, leading convincingly with that wonderful display of cross-country jumping. Just finishing there is Ralph Koeremans for the Dutch on Henri Z. We'll bring his score in a moment, but it's been a day dominated by the French. Just a couple more combinations to finish here. John Warner and Vico Pop and Billy Cuckoo and Tom Jackson. There is the famous Chateau Arras de Pin, and there is 7. All combinations have gone through that now. So we are just coming to the end now and of this competition. So the French on 89.1 their score as they started with those 3 clear runs, the best 3. Now as we pick up the final 3, Jorn Warner just going through and up the hill and coming round. He's got 3 more. It's an uphill run at this stage as we go back to Tom Jackson on Billy Cuckoo. 14 through to that, coming now to the next, pops that. So just another water complex for him to negotiate. But as we pick coming into the final stages, here is Jorn Warner for Germany, coming towards just one more effort to make as he heads towards the final fence in the cross country here at Arras de Pin. Coming across, pops that. So damage limitation for Germany, having lost Pauline Noor. So 3 completing. Pat on the back for his horse, Vico Pop. But what definitely going to be France leading the FEI Eventing Nations Cup going into the jumping phase with a very dominant display here. But Ralph Koeremans for Holland, well, he's picked up 6.4 time penalties to be on 38.9. And from a Dutch perspective, they're on 120.7. Germany are on 100.9. The gap widening, so it really depends on what Tom Jackson can do in terms of his time to keep within touching distance of the French, who are over 10 points ahead of Great Britain, although this last rider to count is Tom Jackson, and he has still got, he's coming into 19 now, and he's just popped the final part, and now he's heading up the hill. So the final rider, Tom Jackson, coming to the end of his round, moving up the hill. And moving round, there'll be a right-hand turn, sweeping in front of the wonderful historic chateau. And then just 3 more efforts to go here as he comes round. Jorn Vorne picking up 4 time penalty faults. Here is Tom Jackson then on board. Billy Cuckoo coming to the final 3 fences for him. Just checking into that, now taking his time as he comes to the penultimate obstacle. Now a little gallop to the final fence. Here he goes, charging towards it. So comes towards it. It's a question of the time, but whatever, he's safely round and he has made it home. But what impact will that have on the gap at the top with the French clearly out in front? 89.1 they have finished with. Germany on 100.9. It's a question whether they're in second or third, depending on what happens here with Tom Jackson. Netherlands on 120.7. Then Spain in fifth, 133. Italy, 137.9. Sweden, 157. And Switzerland, 161. So it's the battle at the top that's intriguing. I suppose the big 3, France, Britain and Germany. But France have really got this particular leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup, taking it by the scruff of the neck today. On the individual basis, Maxime Livio leads the way with 26.4. And Tom Jackson was clear inside the time with 6:28. That is one of the quickest of the day. A terrific performance from the 25-year-old Briton. He's clear inside the time. And what it means is that France lead by over 10 points, 10.4 points going into the jumping phase here at the Arras de Pin. With that clear from Tom Jackson, one of 2 British riders to go clear inside the time. There were 3 French riders clear inside the time. 89.1 is their total. Then it's Great Britain on 99.5. Germany just over a point behind Britain, 100.9. Netherlands further adrift on 120.7. And then it's Spain, Italy, Sweden and Switzerland. But terrific day's competition here in the French countryside, with the French delighting their home fans here with a very commanding performance. We'll be back, of course, for the jumping tomorrow to see the climax of this FEI Eventing Nations Cup here at this wonderfully historic location in the heart of the Normandy countryside. So not only that, will Maxime Livio make it a double because he leads, but Mark Todd is here just poised behind in second. Then it is Andreas Ostolt, Sarah Bullemore, Louise Svensson-Jade is in the mix, less than a fence behind the leader. And then others in the hunt, Laura Collett, Andreas Ostolt with his second horse, Richard Coney, and Donatien Choly, one of the stars of the French show today. And he just had 0.8, so he was the discard score. Just shows you how good they were today. So wonderful from the French, and we of course will be back tomorrow. As I say, the French leading the way after their dominance of the eventing, with Britain in second, Germany in third. Thank you for your company.